Hey friends, welcome to my channel where I discuss tech and travel. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the top 5 programming languages to learn in 2022. Now, this is not separated by backend and frontend languages. I can definitely do a more extensive video of that in the future. The goal is to equip you with as much knowledge as possible when you're deciding which language to learn next, as well as just giving my 2 cents based on my own experience. These are not ranked in any specific order, but without further ado, let's get into it. First up on the list is Python. Python is a high-level programming language with English-like syntax. If you don't know what a high-level programming language is, basically you can think of it as a separation between machine language and human language when you're actually telling the computer what to do. So with machine language, we use ones and zeros, binary code, to kind of tell these specific transistors when to keep their gates open and closed and pass electricity through. Now you can imagine that there's an infinite number of ways to tell a computer what to do when you put different types of permutations of ones and zeros together. So a high-level language is just an abstraction of that machine-level language. Instead of putting together zeros and ones to tell your program what to do, you're actually using Java, you're using Python, you're using one of those object-oriented or other high-level languages to tell that computer what to do, which then eventually gets compiled into that binary code. So now that we've got that out of the way, going back to Python, Python is also an interpreted language, which just means that it directly executes the code line by line. If there's an error, it stops further execution and reports that error. It's also dynamically typed. This means that it won't actually know the type of variable until runtime. It actually just automatically assigns the data type during execution. It's free and open source, and it's really easy to use. It's also easy to download the code and modify it. You can pretty much find any and all functions needed for your task. Python can be found in a lot of different places and different products that you may know today. Google uses a combination of Python and Java, and Netflix also uses a combination of Python and Java in a lot of its backend development. There's also some games that use Python, actually a lot of games, but to name a few, Battlefield uses Python, Sims 4 uses Python, among many others. So next up we have JavaScript. JavaScript is also an interpreted language. Again, this means that it executes the code line by line. It also significantly reduces the time for compilation. It's a client-side script, something we usually think of as a front-end language. The reason that it speeds up execution is because it doesn't have to go through that extra layer to contact the server in order to execute specific logic. We're just scripting on the client side. It's also really easy to use and super popular. Most, if not all, modern browsers support the use of JavaScript. It's seen almost everywhere, and famous companies such as Google, PayPal, and Amazon all use it. JavaScript has rich interfaces, which are used to create really unique web pages. Drag and drop components or sliders helps to encourage better user interactivity. It's also very versatile. JavaScript is now used for both front-end and back-end development. If you pair it with Node.js, it's perfect for back-end development. If you pair it with React or Angular, it's perfect for front-end development. So now third on the list is Java, and this is actually one of my favorites just because I first learned to code using Java, and I used Java pretty extensively throughout my career so far. Java is an object-oriented language that helps enhance the flexibility and reusability of code. Using the OOP concept, or object-oriented programming, you're able to reuse specific objects in other classes. Java is also a secure language. It reduces security threats and risks by avoiding the use of explicit pointers. A pointer stores the memory address of another value, and this can lead to unauthorized access to memory. Java is a platform-independent language as well. That means you can write it once and run it anywhere. Regardless of the operating system that you're using, whether that's Mac OS, whether it's Windows or Linux, you can pretty much use Java on any of those operating systems. Java is also a high-level programming language, just like Python, just like JavaScript. And it actually provides automatic garbage collection. So unlike some of those kind of lower level languages such as C++, you don't have to allocate or unallocate memory. You aren't in control of that, and Java has a great garbage collector that takes care of any objects that are unused. That means an automatic memory management system dereferences certain objects if they're not being used by the program. So next up is Kotlin. I'm also a little bit biased towards Kotlin, and this is another JVM language similar to Java. I used it in the industry as well, and I really enjoyed the versatility and flexibility of this language. It's very easy to use, and the readability is great. Similar to Java, it's also an object-oriented programming language, although it does have functional components. Just like Java 8 came out with functional programming, Kotlin also supports this as well. Kotlin was not developed in academia. It was actually created to help solve specific developer challenges. It was created by JetBrains as a simpler tool to use compared to Java. It was actually used to create the IntelliJ IDEA. That's a specific IDE that I used to use with the Micronaut framework as well as Spring Boot framework, and it was a great IDE to use in my opinion. So one example of a pro of Kotlin is that the type system helps you to avoid null pointer exceptions. It also imposes no runtime overhead. The standard library is small and tight. It consists of focused extensions to the Java standard library. The heavy use of compile time inlining means functional constructs like pipelines of map, filter, reduce, compile similarly to an imperative version of the code. So those are my 4 top programming languages so far. I know I would give you a 5th, but I honestly couldn't decide. There were too many good languages that I thought you guys should learn for 2022. So I'll give you some honorable mentions in place of that 5th language. So the honorable mentions are Go, Swift, PHP, C#. So those are the ones that I think are worth mentioning. For the purposes of this video and not making it too long, I just wanted to briefly touch on my favorites for 2022. I hope you guys liked watching this video and that it was helpful for you when you're making a decision on which programming language you want to use. Again, please like and subscribe if you liked this video. It helps me out a lot and it motivates me to make more videos in the long run. If you have any ideas for future videos, please leave a comment below. I do read all the comments and they really help me determine what direction I should take this channel in. Thank you so much.